Please welcome former undercover CIA officer and congressman from the 23rd District of Texas, Will Hurd.
So a couple of weeks ago, I went on a multi-country trip, and before the trip, the doctor for the House of Representatives asked what my blood type was. Now, I'm gonna be honest, y'all, and by the way, y'all is the plural form of you, for those that don't know. I'd forgotten it. I had lived in many places over the last 2 decades. I've visited a lot of doctors over the last 2 decades, and I couldn't remember it, and I couldn't find it anywhere online. So I had to dig through some old files in an old filing cabinet in my garage in order to get that piece of information. I could get online tonight and get on mint.com and find out all of my, no matter how obscure my financial instruments or devices are, I can get them all in one dashboard. But I can't do that with all my previous doctor's visits, right? That's pretty crazy. And by the way, I'm an A positive, or as I like to call it, A plus. Now imagine if we were able to collect all the salient details of keeping someone healthy in one electronic health record of EHR. Now EHRs exist, but there's a lot of them, and there's no interconnectivity. The CDC says about 35.1 million people go to a hospital. 26,000, let's call it 26,000, go to a health clinic or something like that. That's a lot of visits. If you take an electronic health record for a normal person that has a couple of issues, that record is somewhere between 3 and 5 gigabytes worth of data. Now you do all the math, that's 643 petabytes of info. So for the mathematically challenged, let me give you some perspective. 1 byte is equal to a single printed letter. 643 petabytes is equal to all the information in over 6,000 libraries of Congress. That's 6,430 libraries of Congress. Now imagine if all that information in those 6,430 libraries of Congress were interconnected. What could we do with that information? We would be able to figure out where Zika outbreak was happening and stop it from spreading. If we were able to connect all that data, we would be able to do virtualized research and figure out if a cure is actually solving and preventing a disease from happening. We can do it quicker. We would be able to make sure that we keep people alive much longer. But what's happening? In this space, there are some archaic privacy laws. There's so many agencies that are involved in protecting this kind of information, right? And we need to bust through it. And the best next action to achieve true interoperability is having a common and agreed upon standard for an EHR. Now, if we were able to interconnect all this information, let's assume that we can protect an individual's privacy, right? We can anonymize the data. Let's assume that we're able to get someone to opt out, right? This is the kind of interconnectivity that we're going to need in order to do some good things. And this is a place where the government can lead. DOD and VA are the 2 largest providers of healthcare in the world. 15 million people visit the DOD or the VA. And what's even more staggering than that is 50% of the money that's spent in healthcare is spent by the government, right? Now, DOD and VA, they've tried to get their electronic health records together. They started a project in 2008, working together. They spent over $500 billion, and in 2013, they threw up their hands and said, this is too hard to do. We're going to continue trying to find separate paths. That's outrageous to me. And the reason is there's a thing called the FAR, the Federal Acquisitions Regulations Guideline. It's almost 2,000 pages, and it's created a system that dictates how the government buys and sells IT goods and services. When the government provides an RFP, it defines the problem, and it defines the solution, and then it says what widgets are supposed to be involved in that solution. So that prevents the two guys or the two gals in a garage who have a creative solution, who can solve the problem in a third of the time and half the cost, from being able to bid on these types of projects. The FAR has created a system in which the person buying the IT good and service is not the same person that is using the IT good and service, all right? Now, I know that IT procurement is not a sexy topic. Nobody's going to hold a rally for IT procurement. But if we get this right, if we were to actually get this right, this is how we can solve the government spending problem. If we get this right, this is how we make the government more efficient. And if we get this right, we can save lives. And all of us should be able to rally around that. Thank you.